Hello, class. This is Demetrius Wilson again with Chapter 2, speaking in regards to small business and entrepreneurship. As usual, we will start off the chapter with our Reading Rainbow section and talk about the, the story that's at the very beginning of the chapter. Talk about some fine key points that you guys should really key in on and know and understand in regards to small business, how they work, and if you do own a small business or plan to in the near or distant future, these are things that can really help you. In the Cheshire Package Store, Robert Brown has been the owner and operator of the Cheshire Package Store for 25 years. It's one of several liquor stores in the town of 25,000 people. So, it's not a lot of people. So you have to be really specific in regards to how you treat your customers. Some of his competitors are smaller or approximately the same size, and one is significantly larger, right? So typically in these scenarios, you're going to need to figure out what are the things that are really customer centric that these smaller companies do, and what are the things that are really beneficial to other customers that the larger companies do. Robert is very clear in his understanding of what gives his store a competitive edge. He believes his establishment provides the setting that makes a customer feel at home. And if people feel at home, they feel relaxed and they feel, unrushed, and they'll probably make, decisions that you want them to make inside your store. My feeling has always been that small businesses must have a feeling of comfort. If your customers do not feel that they can ask you a question about the product, or if they feel they are imposing on you, they're not likely to return, right? If you get a bad feeling about being somewhere, you probably will not show back up. I definitely would not. Like if I had a waiter or waitress at a restaurant and it was a terrible experience, it's highly unlikely that I would go back. I'd probably, as most of us would, probably hold some type of grudge and just wouldn't come back. And these days, people will, typically write, a bunch of nasty reviews and all kind of different things because they had a bad experience. Robert took every opportunity available to better understand his customers, and that is the key. You have to know who your customer is, and you have to understand where they're coming from, and provide them with value. One way his business does this is by developing personal relationships. Right? It's a little different if you walk in the store and they say thank you for coming to CVS. A little different than hey, Demetrius, great to see you. Welcome back to CVS. Um, this may mean carefully looking at checks or credit cards, and not for security reasons, but to identify customers by name. Robert points out that he pays careful attention to customers' likes and dislikes. And by doing so, he's able to develop confidence in his suggestion, right? So if I know what you like and I own the store, I can give you good suggestions. If I know you and I know some, further details about your house, your kids, what type of car you drive, what type of things you like. Like if it's his liquor store, maybe you only like whiskey, and I know that, and I get some different types and brands and new things in, and I suggest that to you. To foster this confidence, he and his family actively engage their customers in conversations. Right? Don't just ignore them. Create a conversation. Customers, Robert and the employees share stories, which is a key way to build better customer relationships, and that's what it's all about. It's about building relationships, whether it be in an office or whether it be in a store. By listening to his customers, and that's the key. Remember, when we're talking about being very customer centric, you want to listen more than you speak. Um, Robert can identify what they're looking for and assist him in knowing what new products that he might offer. In addition to this personalized level of service, the Cheshire Package Store also recognizes the importance of other factors. So, Robert talks about the importance of maintaining a well lit store in spacious aisles, making it an inviting place in which to shop. Some things it's just about comfort, lighting. Like if you think about going to certain clubs, it's about lighting. And when those lights come on and it's time for everybody to leave, things sure look a lot different. Um, he's careful even about the minor details, such as assuring that there are open parking spaces near the entrance to the store. Right, nobody wants to walk a mile to go to the store, and he recognized that even walking short distances to or from the store might burden or be a deterrent for his customers. All right, so you have to think about the little things, and which can become big things. You're going to this this store and things are just so convenient, it's likely that you won't go to a different store because you don't want to go out of your way. You don't want to change how you started to do things, and it's feeling real comfortable for you. Robert's store possesses cutting edge inventory software, package designed specifically for liquor stores. It enables him to track inventory levels, which can provide estimates for future inventory levels of different products. However, he sees this as a guide only, right? He really wants to feel and be in tune with what his customers want. As he puts it, your knowledge of your customers will be the key determinant for your success, right? It's about you having knowledge in terms of what they're doing and how they're doing it. Robert also strongly believes that the success of a small business depends on the owner being there, right? They have to be present. They have to be there. Been places where the owner is not there and is not present, and they fall apart at the seams. Stores have their own personality, right, in his view, and that personality is created by the owner, right? It feeds off of that individual. Now, that can't always be the case, but definitely in the early stages, it definitely all feeds off of the owner. His personality imparted by owner impacts all the operational aspects of the business. Your employees will pick up on what you expect, and they will know what your customers deserve, right? So they're going to follow your lead, right? If you open up a small business, they're going to follow what you say. They're going to follow what you do. You can't expect anything different than that. So a few learning objectives that we have for chapter two: define customer value, right? Like what makes things valuable. Understand 5 sources of perceived customer benefits, and understand 3 sources of perceived costs, right? So it's all about benefit and cost, right? Does the benefit outweigh the cost? If it doesn't, then I pass go, right? If it does, if the benefit outweighs the cost, then I'm going to buy whatever it is. So strong evidence indicates that this focus on making the customer central to defining the business translates into economic success. So they're saying if you make your customer or if you make your member the focal point of what you're doing, you should be successful. It has been estimated that the cost of gaining a new customer over retaining a current customer is multiple of 5, right? So 5 times as much. So if it costs, $5 to keep them, then it's going to cost $25 um, if you want to gain a new customer. The cost of regaining a dissatisfied customer over the cost of retaining a customer are 10 times as much, right? So if something goes wrong, it's so highly unlikely that you'll ever get that customer or that member back. And these things are, they're so true. I worked for a company and they said the company did not make any profit off of the businesses that they sold its product to until after they've been with the company 2 years, right? So if they get dissatisfied and leave anytime before 2 years, that means the company is counting that as a loss. It is essential to recognize that value is not just price, right? It's not just only about money. Value is a much richer concept. Fundamentally, the notion of customer value is fairly basic and relatively simple to understand, right? It's like, I have some money. What can what is your product or your service going to do for me? So implementing this concept can prove to be tremendously challenging. It's a challenge because customers' value is a very dynamic and can change for a variety of reasons, right? It can be this one day, it could be something else another. Including for the following: the business may change elements that are important to the customer's value calculation, right? So if I allowed you to, you signed up for Netflix and you can watch as many movies as you want. But if I change my value calculation changed. If I say, okay, now you can watch 10 movies, right? So it changes the way you think, the way that you act. It's important to the customer's value calculation. Customers, their preferences, their perceptions may change over time, and competitors may change what they offer to customers, right? So if you're a company, you sell TVs, and you know that everybody wants a wall mount with it, then you're gonna bundle that together. Think, people think that way. They think in a manner in which, hey, well, what else can we bundle with what we're selling or what we're promoting? And it definitely works out. So if that's the competitor that says, okay, I'm going to give you, you're buying the TV, but I'm going to give you a year's, free subscription to Netflix, right? And I'm saying that I'm company ABC. You as company XYZ is going to have to follow suit and do something to counteract that because I am, soaking up all the sales. A simple version of a concept of customer value is that individuals evaluate perceived benefits of some product or service, right? Like I've already said, and then compare that with their perceived cost of acquiring the product or service, right? So if it doesn't make dollars, doesn't make it doesn't make sense for me to purchase something if I'm not going to get the benefit. If the benefits outweigh the cost, the product or service is then seen as attractive, right? So remember, again, this is one that you really need to know. If the benefits outweigh the cost, the product or service is then seen as attractive, right? But if the benefits do not outweigh the cost, then now you have another decision on your hands. So customer value equals perceived benefits, right? And when I say perceived, that's because maybe you're not 100% sure, but what you believe the benefits to be minus perceived cost, right? That's customer value. Customer value equals perceived benefits minus perceived costs. Firms that provide greater customer value relative to their competitors should expect to see higher revenues and superior returns, right? They're gonna be a little bit more profitable than others, right? When you look at those companies that really focus on customer service and the voice of the customer, those companies are very successful. And it starts with the people, right? Like places like In and Out, right? You can all imagine and you can all agree that people who work at In and Out are just a little different. People who work at Chick-fil-A are just a little different, right? So they really value the customer. They really value their insight. They really value how they treat individuals, and it shows. And because of that, they'll continue to have a really strong customer member base. Given this importance, it's critical to understand what makes the period or makes the perceived benefits and the perceived costs in the eyes of the consumer. And that's the most important and maybe the only important thing is in the eyes of the consumer, not what you think is a business, right? Because your heart is too close to the situation. What is seen in the eyes of the consumer. Critical issues have produced a considerable body of research. So these are the five types of value, right? You have functional value, right? That's I'm buying something because it does this, right? I'm buying a hammer because it hits the nail on the head and drives it through, right? That has a functional value in terms of what I'm doing. Social value involves a sense of relationship with other groups by using images or symbols. This may appear to be a rather abstract concept, but is used by many businesses in many ways, right? So if you think about boutique clothing stores, often try to convey a chic or trendy environment so that customers feel that they're on the cutting edge of fashion, right? I've got this shirt, nobody else has it, right? I fell for that before. And then like Rolex watches, right? I've got a Rolex. Everybody knows what a Rolex is, right? I was in a store and in an island in the Caribbean, and I saw this shirt, right? It's a Lacoste shirt. Lacoste has the alligator, right, or crocodile, I think, whichever one it has. And I saw one, and it was a shirt, and the alligator or crocodile looked just so much different. And I said, man, and I wondered why, and it looked good, and I really liked the shirt. It was a polo shirt, right, short sleeve polo shirt, and I looked at the shirt, and a guy came over and explained it to me, and either I fell for it, or he just was a good salesman, or it just really was true. Uh, and he told me, he said, hey, these Lacoste shirts that are in America are made here. And he said, but these Lacoste shirts that are in the Caribbean and in Europe are made in Portugal, right? And so he explained the difference to me, and I looked, and I was having a good time. And the crocodile or alligator had sharper teeth, and he was bigger, and I was like, oh, I gotta have it. And I paid $250 for a polo, right, which was absolutely ridiculous. However, it is a great shirt. I still have the shirt that was so long ago. People always ask me where I got the shirt from, and it seems to be staying in very very good shape. So maybe it's the different way that they make it. Maybe it's just a better texture. Maybe it's just a better type of shirt that they create if they're in the in the manufacturing plant in Portugal. But yeah, I found that so interesting. But I always shake my head every time I see the shirt, just because I spend so much money on it. Emotional value is derived by the ability to evoke an emotional or effective response. So think about it. Insurance companies, alarm companies, they play on fear, right? What could happen, right? You could pass away and your family could be left, stuck, right? You have to have some insurance. You have to have life insurance. It's like, oh yeah, I really do. Now we're playing on my emotions, playing on my fears, and then I go out and I make sure that I get the life insurance, right? Same thing with alarm companies. Like, hey, what are you going to do to protect your house, or what is this or that? And then people think about it and they say, hey, you know what? I think that's the move that I should make. So there's a lot of times there's emotional value involved. Um, you also have a epistemic value, right? So that's a sense of novelty or simple fun. And I'll give you an example. It's this restaurant called Barton G, and you can look it up. Um, and it's like, I won't say the food is bad. I would just say that the food is just not the number one thing people go for, right? Food is probably decent, but they, have these things that are so novel, right? They bring you, macaroni and cheese with a big, huge cheese trap, right? I mean, when I say huge, I mean huge, like this, and it's a big thing, and the winder that snaps down on the mouse, right, is big, and they have all these different things. They bring you popcorn shrimp in a popcorn maker, and they say, "Oh, it's here." And then this kind of environment where people are just like looking and saying, "Ooh" and "ah," and they see and they're looking at everybody's food, and food's probably not not that great, but it's the atmosphere, it's the ambiance that they bring to the restaurant that people really love. Conditional value, that's derived from a particular context or a social, cultural setting. So a lot of businesses learn to draw on shared traditions, such as holidays, right? So you think about, you know, uh, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Where's everybody? Well, prior to the pandemic, but where people lined up at, man. They're lined up at the honey baked ham. I need me a honey baked ham for Christmas. I need a honey baked ham for um, for certain holidays, maybe for Easter, whatever people buy them for. But there's certain conditional value that's going to be there. So for most Americans, Thanksgiving means eating turkey with the family, right? So I'm sure Butterball just goes crazy right during that time frame. Supermarkets and grocery stores recognize this and increase their inventory of turkeys and other foods associated with this period of the year. So holidays become a basis for many retail businesses to tap into conditional value, right? And why they call it Black Friday, because or some people just don't like, hey, I have no idea why, but it's because companies are going into the black. They're not profitable for the entire year, and you get to November 26th, and bam, they're profitable because that's when they sell the majority of their goods. This notion of customers being of some type of group becomes the basis of a concept of market segmentation, right? I'm in the you know they have different groups. Like they have things like dual incomes, no kids, right? They call them DINKs, right? It's just a short acronym, or dual income with kids, right? So they have these different things. Well, what market do people fall into, right? Is it a market of somebody who has children? Is a market for the people who don't have children, right? You have to figure out where your market is going to be. You have to understand where the market's going to be, and then you have to learn how to cultivate it. So here are some of the key takeaways for this section in chapter 2. Essential to the success of any business is the need to correctly identify customer value, right? So I need to find out what's important to you if you're my customer, right? It doesn't matter what's important to me, it matters what's important to you. Customer value can be seen as the difference between customers' perceived benefits and the perceived costs. Perceived benefits can be derived from 5 value sources: functional, social, emotional, epistemic, and conditional. Perceived costs can be seen as having three elements: monetary, time, and psychic. To better provide value to customers, it may be necessary to segment the market, right? I might say, hey, this is a detergent for college students, right? Because you're not washing your clothes very often. And this is the detergent for people who are stay-at-home moms because you guys are doing laundry every single day, right? Not saying that's realistic. I'm just using that as an example. These are people who are going to buy a thing of detergent every week, and then there's the people who are going to buy it once a month, right? I've segmented the market. Market segmentation can be done on the basis of demographics, psychographics, or purchasing behavior. Learning objectives for the last section. Understand that in order to provide customer value, firms must be able to listen to the voice of the customer. You'll see that a lot, the VOC, or the voice of the customer. Comprehend that businesses must attempt to identify those customers' needs that are not met by competitors. So, what doesn't the competitor do, right? If you have Pep Boys, I bring it in, I want an oil change, and I just sit there. Well, what if somebody brought me a drink while I was just sitting there? Is that a perk, or is that something that's very beneficial, or do they say, hey, you know what? You live right down the street. We're gonna take you back home, and then we're gonna come back and work on your car since it probably won't be done today. But I'm gonna go ahead and give you some value add with that, and go ahead and take you home. So yeah, like I said, understand that in order to provide customer value, firms must be able to listen to the voice of customer, know exactly what they're doing. Comprehend that businesses must attempt to identify those customers' needs that are not being met by competitors. And like I said, understand that businesses should segment their customers into to better fit their needs. I'll tell you before I go on to the other objectives. During the day, I'm a member loyalty director, so a director of member loyalty. And so instead of us having customers, right, which is very, very transactional, we have members. And because if you have a member, right, you're going to take care of your member, you're going to do the right thing for your member. And in my department, which is the member loyalty department, we really focus on these things, and making sure that we're listening to the voice of the customer, and then we represent the voice of the customer ourselves at our company. I want to understand that businesses should consider the lifetime value of their various customer segments, right? Like how, when is the end, right? Does it just burn out and that's it, right? So we have to, determine the life cycle and the lifetime value of customer segments. You want to understand that although some businesses can create products and services based on their intuitive insights, right, that gut instincts, others need to conduct careful analyses, right? And I would say everybody needs to conduct careful analyses. You can't always rely on your gut instinct because it could be wrong. It could be something else that you're just not paying attention to or don't want to see. You want to comprehend that new product or service development requires that organizations support creativity and innovation, right? You don't just shut down everything. I say as the director of member loyalty, you don't just shut down everything that comes from a specific department, right? You want to have, again, have those open ears, right? What types of questions should they be asking their customers, right? So we send out surveys, and those surveys say, "Would you refer us?" That's like when you send out NPS or Net Promoter surveys. Typically, they just have one question. They say, "Would you refer us to a friend?" Right? If they say no, maybe there's some work to be done there. But if they say yes, tell us why, and we figure it out from there. So, like I said, if businesses are to become better listeners, what should you have to think? Like, what am I listening for? Right? What types of questions should they be asking their customers? And they should address the following questions when they attempt to make customer value the focus of their existence. What needs of our customers are we currently meeting, right? So are there any needs that we're currently meeting that we're, like, hey, this long laundry list of things that we're doing and we're happy about that? What needs of our customers are we currently failing to meet, right? So what things are we not meeting that we know that our members or our customers need? Do our customers understand their own needs, and are they aware of them, right? Do they understand what they truly want? How are we going to identify those unmet customer needs, right? And then how are we going to listen to the voice of the customer? And typically that's going to start, to me, always with your customer service or member loyalty department, right? Because they're going to hear things so fast and so quickly, and then they'll bring that to light to the engineering department and see if it's something that, that can be created, or actually bring it to the product department, and they'll work with engineering and they'll create it from there. But the voice of the customer, you'll hear that tossed around all the time, and it is a great way to go. Think about it, that's what I deal with all day, every day, being the director of member loyalty. We want to satisfy and make things great for our members, and we want to keep it that way. How are we going to let the customer talk to us? Right? Is it going to be email, chat, phone, or a combination of any of those three? What is the current value proposition that is desired by customers, right? Like, how much value do I see, and how much am I willing to pay for that value? How's the value proposition different for different customers, right? I may be looking for ABC, but my buddy John is looking for XYZ, right? Um, and do I know why customers have left our business for our competitors? And that's a key, because you have to know and understand like where your mistakes occurred and why they occurred. If you don't do so, you're definitely gonna have an issue. So some people want to go, and continue to go through, the path of least resistance, but that's typically not the path that you're gonna end up going through. Um, and do I know why my customers have left business for our competitors? You should know, but you can always try and win them back, right? The game's not over till it's over. Customer lifetime value is a measure of the revenue generated by a customer, the cost generated for that particular customer, and the projected retention rate of that customer over his or her lifetime, right? So you have to think about how much money is this customer making us. And I know we just leaped over from customer service, customer value, and how we should treat our members and customers. But sometimes the benefit may take a little longer. Like if I were to tell you, hey, if you signed up for this and you would get $100, would you sign up for it? And if I said it's $100 and you'll get it in 2 years, would you still sign up for it? Um, so you have to think about the lifetime value, measure revenue generated by that customer, how much is coming in, and is it really worth it? Like I said, the company I used to work for, $2,000, or I'm sorry, $2,200 was when we broke even, right? So, and that basically that's their dues and everything for 2 years. Quality function development is an approach that is meant to take a voice of customer concept seriously and uses it to help design new products and services or improve existing ones, right? So, you really have to be on board with the voice of the customer, because a lot of times people just are not. And, but you have to have somebody higher up that's really supporting it. Custom requirements, the what's. Here you can identify the elements desired by customers. So it also contains, relative importance of these needs as identified. So you have engineering characteristics. That's in which time an organization seeks to meet the customer's needs. Relationship matrix illustrates the correlations among customer requirements and engineering characteristics. The degree of correlation may be represented by different symbols. The quote unquote roof of the house, right? So a section illustrates the correlations among the engineering characteristics and reveals synergies that might exist among the engineering characteristics. Competitive assessment matrix. This is used to evaluate the position of a business with respect to its competitors, right? So you're going to kind of, gauge and see where you're at, which is always a smart thing to do. And then the basement, right? Quote unquote, the basement. This section is used for assessing the engineering characteristics of setting targets values. The basement enables participants to instantly see the relative benefits of the activities undertaken by a company and meeting consumer desires by multiplying the values in which each sale each sell by the weight of the day or the weight of why, and adding those values together, right? Um, so it's you hear a lot of questions asked when you're referencing member loyalty or customer service, and that's the fact finding part is very, very important. And one of the things even more important is it says, how do I become a better listener, right? You can use that in your personal life, you can use that in professional life, you can use that in your scholastic life. So although some succeed by listening to their instincts, their inner voices, right, it is highly advisable to all businesses to be proactive in trying to listen to the voice of the customer, right? So listening to the customer is a domain of market research, right? I'm listening, but well, what am I listening for, right? So, however, it should not be surprising that many small businesses have severe resource constraints, and it makes it difficult for them to use complex and sophisticated marketing and market research approaches, right? So a lot of times, especially with startups, you'll see that there's some unknown there, and that can be the unknown can be you can worry about the unknown, right? But don't worry about it too much because the worry about it won't do much to assist or help it. So key takeaways. Businesses must become proactive in attempting to identify the value proposition, right? And that's the big thing. It's just being proactive in what you're doing. And they must know how to listen to the voice of the customer. Businesses must make every effort to identify the unmet needs of their customers, right? We need to figure this out, figure out what's bugging, figure out what's wrong, and fix it for you. Businesses should recognize that customer segmentation would enable them to better provide customer value to their various customers. Businesses should think in terms of computing the customer lifetime value within different customer segments, and you'd be amazed to see how many companies are just not profitable with the people that they are segmenting. And intuition can play an important role in the development of new products and services, right? Some people have some experience and been there before, so it's always very, very helpful. All right. So we'll skip a few of those and just kind of go to innovation because I know it's going to be a couple questions on that. So that can involve new ways in which product or service might be used, right, and also new ways in ways that it might be created. It can involve new ways of packaging a product or service. Change is good, right? Some people want to stay into the same grind that they see and hear and do, but change is definitely good, and that's why you have so much innovation in terms of everything being geared towards your phone and or your smart TV. So simply, innovation centers on finding new ways to provide customers value, right? Customer value. So you have to find those ways, right? And then you become innovative because you have to show your members or your customers, where that value is. Um, so small business owners and their employees often fail to ask the required why type questions, right? So even if they retain you as a company, if you don't ask those why type questions, you're not going to get the answers that you're looking for. Failure to record ideas does not help if individuals and organization are creative and produce a large number of ideas, but other members of the organization cannot evaluate those ideas. Therefore, it's important for you to record and share. Failure to revisit ideas, right? Oh, I brought up this idea, everybody loves it, but then they don't revisit it and it just goes away. Failure to express ideas. Sometimes individuals are unwilling to express new ideas for fear of criticism, right? Everybody's looking at me, everybody's paying attention to what I say. In some organizations, we're too willing to critique an idea before it's allowed to fully develop, right? So that's that analysis paralysis, right? Or paralysis of analysis, analysis paralysis. So when people like say, hey, I want a PlayStation or Xbox, and they just can't decide, right? And it's funny because it was on the Big Bang Theory, and he was trying to decide which one he wanted, and then the store closed, so he didn't get either one, right? So, they're stuck in a state where they can't make a decision. So failure to think in new ways, right? So you have to be innovative, right? It's so funny when you go back to the story about Blockbuster and them being, laughing Netflix out of the door, right? So now, for those of you who are a little older, like, do you see any Blockbusters hanging around in the United States? And you don't. right? But they laughed Netflix out of the door and they said, hey, we think you can, benefit from this. And they said, we don't think we can, and get out. Everybody wants to come here Saturday, or I'm sorry, Friday night and get a movie and get some hot tamales and some popcorn and take it home and watch it. But apparently they like to do it a different way, and we've all seen that. So you have to learn how to think in new ways, and then failure to wish for more. Right? You have to have big and grand thinking. It's not all going to be handed to you, but if you have big and grand thinking, those is it's more higher likelihood for those things to happen. Failure to be creative. Many people mistakenly think that they are not at all creative when you just might be. And the new types of solutions to the ongoing problems they come easy to them, right? Failure to keep trying. Someone attempting to provide new ways to create customer value, individuals are sometimes confronted with creative blocks. Then they simply give up, right? They just say that that's it. This is the surest way to destroy the creative thinking process. Failure to tolerate creative behavior. I know a lot of people like that. Like, hey, it's not broke, don't fix it. We're going to keep it that way, right? But you have to stimulate a creative business environment. Customer relationship management, or like your CRM. A lot of the companies in the tech world, they use like Zendesk, which you can do everything from. You can call, you can chat, you can email, and that's where you do a lot of their correspondence. Coming from, but it's like, where is that conversation taking place? So uh, it hopes to build a long-term and sustainable relationship with customers, right? So you want to extend the relationship. You don't want a short relationship because you're probably at a loss. You're probably going to lose some money from there. So as always, just want you to make sure that you thoroughly listen to the lecture. Those are things that'll be on your quiz. Not all of them, obviously, but just a small portion of them. Make sure that you take your quiz for the week. Make sure that you watch any of the supplemental videos that are listed there. They are very specific in terms of their help and assistance. So you want to make sure that you utilize that. Um, so yeah, definitely. Want you to thoroughly go through the module 2 on Monday. Hopefully everybody has the day off. It's always good to have another day off and recharge. And then you can get right to it. But nothing's to say that you can't take a part of Monday to complete your schoolwork. But if you have any questions, feel free to email me or send me a message through Canvas, and I'll be glad to assist. Like I said, just as long as you go into the module, follow the steps, write down module 2, just like you're supposed to do in module 1. Everything will be great. So hopefully everybody's healthy, safe, and hopefully you guys have a good day and a great week. Thanks a lot.